Shashwin, lead us through the Manglacharan. Don't repeat. Just let's all of us unmute and read the Manglacharan. Om Agnya.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha.
Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale
Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Kadani Sakarantikam
Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Gurudavatam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sajatam
Sahagana Raghunathan
Vitam Sajivam
Sadvedam Swavadutam Varijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Shri Radha Krishna Parshad Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhandetam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate
Gopesha Gopika Kanta
Radha
Namostute Kanchana Gaurani Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Krishnanusute Devi
Pranamami Hari Vanjakalpatarubhya Kirpas Sindhu Vaivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gauravata Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Hare
Rama Hare Rama
Rama Hare 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 Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Oh, that was beautiful with a little young boy doing really well. Impressive.
Thank you, Mataji. We have a Sunday school as well. So I run the Sunday school with two other devotees, and the children are trained over there. But Shashwin is, he attends the adult class as well. So
Right.
we are very
Credit
fortunate.
Credit goes to you as a guru there.
I don't know, Mataji. I'm learning in the process. I'm doing it only so that I learn.
It works both ways. Yeah, it's just it's learning never ends. And yeah, Manasi was just mentioning to me about you, Manasi Ganga, and you know how you do everything very professionally. And it's amazing that you have a responsible job and everything, and yet you still give so much of your time and energies to, you know, serving the mission. So I really appreciate that.
Thank you very much for your kind words. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Okay, so Hare Krishna, on behalf of everybody, we'd like to pay our humble obeisances to Mataji. Mataji's name is Brajrani Devi Dasi, and she comes from USA. Mansi Ganga Mataji was supposed to be introducing her, but she has poor network because she's on a farm, so she won't be joining us. So we are requesting Mataji to kindly please introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself before we continue.
Okay. Yeah, in terms of like my Krishna consciousness, when I came in touch, of course, my parents were, you know, from Vaishnava. They, you know, from childhood, we worshipped Radha Krishna, Lakshmi Narayan, Sita Ram. And Srila Prabhupada and his first early disciples came. I was born in Malaysia, and so they visited our temple. We stayed there. So first time I met Srila Prabhupada and the disciples was in 1971 in the springtime, around like April, May, and things like that. And yeah, they kind of really touched me so deeply, that I spent most of my days with them chanting, and they were telling me Krishna stories, and Prabhupada would give classes and give us cookies, and he just stole my heart. I was just a young girl at that time, just a little 7-year-old girl or something, but that became my life desire, purpose. Like, I want to just join these people. I just want to be part of them. So as I grew up and, finished my college and things like that, then I packed everything up and went to join the temple in London, Bhaktivedanta Manor. And I've been in the temple at Bhaktivedanta Manor, London for about 30 years.
Wow.
Before I came to California. I'm now here in USA, California, helping my husband in a little town here close to where Giruraj Maharaj is preaching from here, because there's no temple here. So we do a preaching from our home. We do 3 programs a week from here. Sundays we go out, Harinam, Sankirtan, book distribution, things like that. And other days, right now, because of COVID, everything's online. So that's how that's a little bit about me in terms of Krishna consciousness. And I do a lot of spiritual mentoring, coaching based on, like our teachings, based underlying, of course, I'm professionally trained as a coach too. And so that's another service I like to do. I think Manasi has my information if, anybody want to know more about that, if I could serve them in any way. So that's a little brief about myself and Krishna consciousness. And so, I was thinking that Manasi Ganga somehow gave me verse 4, chapter 434. And so you're mentioning it's 435. So we can just, I guess, briefly run through both. It's kind of a last minute thing, so I'm not really just going to take it. I mean, I like the idea when she first sent me, she said we'll do reflective reading. So I like that idea. I mean, in Bhaktivedanta Manor, we have, I don't know if you heard of Krishna Dharma Prabhu, and, he's written a few books, and his wife, Chintamani Dasi, and we do a lot of like, what you call reflective listening, studying together over there. And so I thought maybe we could just do it like that today, since the verses are not, been a little mixed up, and I didn't get the information till now. So how do you want to go ahead with this? I mean, that text, chapter 4, text 34, that's the very famous verse, that Vidi Pranipatena Pariprashnena Sevaya Upadekshanti Te Jnanam Jnaninas Tattva Darshinam. Just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master, inquire from him submissively, and render service unto him. The self-realized soul can impart knowledge unto you because they have seen the truth. So since you guys have done that yesterday, maybe I should just throw in a little bit about, if anybody wants to share what they got from your class yesterday. We'll do it more interactive, kind of a discussion.
Yeah. People are joining in, so maybe I can give a small précis on what we discussed yesterday on this. And we were looking at the importance of having a bona fide guru from a disciplinic succession. So it's very important to have a guru, but not just anybody. He or she has to be a bona fide guru from a disciplinic succession. And once you find that guru, you must be submissive to him. You must serve him, and obviously to inquire about the transcendental knowledge, inquire about, you should ask him questions, but not in an argumentative way. Path Prabhuji was our mentor yesterday, and Danvat Pranam to Path Prabhuji. He has joined the group as well. And he said that, in fact, the etiquette would be to ask them, please, may I ask a question? And then your guru will say, okay, fine, you can ask a question. And then not just like, okay, now tell me this, tell me about this, tell me about. So you should be submissive and by all means inquire, but you need to serve him because he has seen Krishna, and your main aim is for to see Krishna, and if you are submissive, he will definitely take you along that path. So,
right, thank you very much for that. Yeah, that's fantastic. So that's really important, key thing. And you said, in that purport, it mentions a lot about not, we don't blind follow, but we don't ask absurd inquiries either. So there's no blind following. You do inquire. It's actually recommended, which is really important, key. I mean, a lot of places you go, people just give their talk and walk away. There's no space for proper introduce the system. Really important, the question and answers at the end, where people, any doubts or anything like that, they can clear that. That's really important. So he doesn't really recommend blind following. And at the same time, like you said, the questions got to be asked, very submissively, in the right mood, not in challenging mood. And like, so guru is really important in our parampara, or the way we the way we go by. And I was just thinking, like, yeah, if you go down, so we look at the end of the introduction in Bhagavad Gita. It gives the whole, evam parampara praptam, this succession that we follow. We from the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. She says, 4.2, and it starts all the way from Krishna, Brahma, Narada, Vyasa, Madhva, Padmanabh, Nrihari, Madhva, Akshobhya, Jaitirtha, Jnana Sindhu, Dayanidhi, Vidyanidhi, Rajendra, Jai Dharma, Purushottam, Brahmanya Tirtha, Vyasa Tirtha, Lakshmipati, Madhavendra Puri, Ishwara Puri, Lord Chaitanya, Rup Sanatan, the six Goswamis, Raghunath Das Swami, Jiva Goswami, Krishna Das, Narottam, Vishwanath, Baladev Jagannath, Bhakti Vinod, Gaur Krishore, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj, and A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The whole list is given at the end. So it really clearly shows how this is what we've been following. It's really important that we have a spiritual master. And guru means one with heavy, one who is heavy. One of the explanation is the meaning of the word guru. So these texts 34, 35, they're all really talking a lot about a guru. So I think, yeah, so it's important that, a guru is a self-realized. Verse 35, it speaks how guru is a self-realized soul. So maybe we should read text 35. Do you want me to do that, or someone else want to do that?
Mataji, if you read, it'll be good. It'll be good to listen to you.
All right. Yaknatva na punarmoham evam yasyashi pandava yena bhutani asheshani drakshyashi atmani atho mai. Did anybody want to try and repeat that?
Yes, we can repeat it. Shashwin, one line at a time. Repeat one line. Hare Krishna. Shashwin, one line, and then we'll repeat after you. Yaj.
Yatvana punarmoham.
Yajñāvana punarmoham.
Yasyasi pandava.
Evam yasyasi pandava.
Yena bhutanyasishani.
Yena bhutani asesani.
Yes, yatma manyato mai.
Rakshasyasatmai parto mai. Hare Krishna. Mataji, shall we proceed to word?
If that's what you normally do.
Yes. Lata Mataji, can you do word to word?
Yes.
Yat,
Which?
which,
Jnatva.
Jnatva,
Knowing.
knowing,
Na.
Na,
Never.
never,
Puna.
Puna,
Again.
again,
Moham.
Moham,
To illusion.
to illusion,
Evam.
Evam,
Like this.
like this,
Yas. Yasi.
Yasyasi,
You shall go.
you shall go,
Pandava.
Pandava,
O son of Pandu.
O son of Pandu,
Ena.
Yena,
By which.
by which,
Bhutani.
Bhutani,
Living entities.
living entities,
Aseshani.
Asesani,
All.
all,
Dakshasi.
Rakshashi,
You will see.
you will see,
Atmani.
Atmani,
In the Supreme Soul.
in the Supreme Soul,
Adayu.
the you,
Or in other words.
or in other words,
Mai.
Mai,
In me.
in me.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Kumar Prabhuji, translation.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Having
Krishna.
attained real knowledge from a self-realized soul, you will never fall again into such illusion. For by this knowledge, you will see that all living beings are but part of the Supreme, or in other words, they are mine. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Mataji, shall we read the purport or we hand over to you?
Yeah, let's read the purport. I mean, or we could go. I could read it if you want.
If you need time for reflection, then we can read it as you gather your thoughts. We can help you. Whatever you
That's
decide.
okay.
Yeah.
So okay, I'll go ahead and okay, someone can read that.
Prahlad, can you please read the purport?
Yes. Okay. Hare Krishna.
Krishna.
The result of receiving knowledge from a self-realized soul, or one who knows things as they are, is learning that all living beings are parts and parcels of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna. The sense of an existence separate from Krishna is called Maya. Ma, not, ya, this. Some think that we have nothing to do with Krishna, that Krishna is only a great historical personality and that the Absolute is the impersonal Brahman. Factually, as it is stated in the Bhagavad Gita, the impersonal Brahman is the personal effulgence of Krishna. Krishna, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the cause of everything. In the Brahma Samhita, it is clearly stated that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the cause of all causes. Even the millions of incarnations are only his different expansions. Similarly, the living entities are also expansions of Krishna. The Mayavadi philosophers wrongly think that Krishna loses his own separate existence in his many expansions. This thought is material in nature. We have experience in the material world that a thing, when fragmentally distributed, loses its own original identity. But the Mayavadi philosophers fail to understand that the absolute means that 1 plus 1 is equal to 1, and that 1 minus 1 is also equal to 1. This is the case in the absolute world. For want of sufficient knowledge in the absolute science, we are now covered with illusion, and therefore we think that we are separate from Krishna, although we are separate parts of Krishna. we are nevertheless not different from him. The bodily difference of the living entities is Maya, or not actual fact. We are all meant to satisfy Krishna. By Maya alone, Arjuna thought that the temporary bodily relationship with his kinsmen was more important than his eternal spiritual relationship with Krishna. The whole teaching of the Gita is targeted toward this end, that a living being, as Krishna's eternal servitor, cannot be separated from Krishna, and his sense of being an identity apart from Krishna is called Maya. The living entities, as separate parts and parcels of the Supreme, have a purpose to fulfill. Having forgotten that purpose since time immemorial, they are situated in different bodies, as men, animals, demigods, etc. Such bodily differences arise from forgetfulness of the transcendental service of the Lord. But when one is engaged in transcendental service through Krishna consciousness, one becomes at once liberated from this illusion. One can acquire such pure knowledge only from the bona fide spiritual master and thereby avoid the delusion that the living entity is equal to Krishna. Perfect knowledge is that the supreme soul, Krishna, is the supreme shelter for all living entities, and giving up such shelter, the living entities are deluded by material energy, imagining themselves to have a separate identity. Thus, under different standards of material identity, they become forgetful of Krishna. When, however, such deluded living entities become situated in Krishna consciousness, it is, it is to be understood that they are on the path of liberation as confirmed in the Bhagavatam 2.10.6. Muktir hit vanyata rupam svarupena vyavashtiti. Liberation means to be situated in one's constitutional position as an eternal servitor of Krishna, Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Prahlad. Mataji, we hand it over to you now.
Thank you. Yeah, I think here they're really pointing out, because the verse before they're talking about who a guru is and why the guru is important and what we get from the guru. And the guru is a self-realized soul. He says, having obtained real knowledge from a self-realized soul, you will never fall again into such illusion. For by this knowledge, you will see all the living beings are but part of the Supreme, or in other words, that they are mine. So Krishna is saying that, because right now our whole problem is, we're in this material world where we get so absorbed in it. It's just like a dream. When we have a dream and we get so absorbed in it and we just think that's what it is, we are get so wrapped up in that dream. And so the same thing in this world, like right now, I mean, like we've got this COVID-19 and, everything around the world. And like you said, we have the adidaivik, adipautic, adhyatmic miseries to deal with, and then birth, death, old age, disease, So actually every one of us at every point of the time, we're either dealing with one of these miseries, adidaivik or adhyatmic or adipotic. It's always our mind or body or someone else or some natural disaster. And there's so much suffering. And yet we really think this is all in all. This is what life is about. This is where we get totally absorbed in. And so here in the first verse, Krishna is saying clearly, he says, anything separate from our existence from Krishna is Maya. Maya means like, yeah, we're so absorbed in this material world, forgetting who Krishna is and our relationship with him, because that's the real original true. And we may hear these things from words and things like that, or we read the Bhagavad Gita and everything also, that we are not this body, we are the spirit soul and things like that. But even then, sometimes it just goes through us very, sometimes like mechanically, because if we really, really got this knowledge, and that is why it's really important to have a self-realized soul, a guru, a guru who knows that, because when you hear words from a person who's self-realized, they have such an impact on us. You actually realize it. So it becomes not just gyan, from gyan it becomes vigyan. You actually, it goes very deep. It goes deep to the soul. And why hearing is so important, because hearing from such self-realized souls from the guru is so important. Because why? Just like all of us are sitting down, we make the time. Prabhupada has created this whole system for us that we hear every morning Bhagavatam class, and the evenings Bhagavad Gita class, and even throughout the day, whatever we're doing, we put on tapes or kirtan or something in the background. Because by hearing, what happens is Krishna, when we're hearing about Krishna's pure devotees, they enter into our ear. Krishna enters into our ear. Through our ear, he goes into our heart, and he sits in our heart. And in there, he purifies the heart, and he illuminates it with Krishna consciousness, rather than, he takes away the illusion of Maya, the darkness of Maya is taken away. And, that comes into our heart. And so otherwise, Krishna consciousness without a guru, it's not easy. We hear in our verse in Bhagavad Gita, what's that verse? They said, Manushanam Sahasreshu, out of hundreds and thousands of men, hardly one know me in truth. So we're talking here about the person who really knows us in truth. Is very rare, it's very special, and that is why we really honor that person that we get transcendental knowledge from. Because through this transcendental knowledge only, he's saying here in the verse, you will understand that all living beings are but part of the Supreme, or in other words, their mind. We will see who we really are and what our connection is with Krishna. It has to begin with that. If we don't know who we are, then how are we going to know what our purpose is? I go out on Sankirtan and usually ask people, who are you? And most people answer all sorts of things and all, they don't know. Then I said, if you don't know who you are, how are you going to know what is your purpose? What are you doing in this world? Why is all this suffering imposed on us? Why? And, nobody wants suffering, because by nature, we're all meant to be happy, because the soul is anandam, satchit anandam, it's eternal, it's knowing, it's blissful. And that's really what we truly want. We want to reconnect with that side of us, because who doesn't want to be? And that can be done, yes. And a bona fide spiritual master, self-realized soul, is the one who can bring us back, to reconnect us with that. Other than that, like you said, we can try and read this Bhagavad Gita here. They're talking in the first paragraph about, Mayavadi philosophers wrongly think that Krishna loses his own separate existence, or we become God. I mean, I'm here in California, people are so, there's all sorts of new age movements here. People think they know, they talk so much about yoga and, all this kind of philosophies from the Vedas, but it's so astounding how they interpret things wrongly. You have all sorts of people like Deepak Chopra and everything, or people, teaching Bhagavad Gita and everything. So Bhagavad Gita is like famous. When I got, everybody say, oh yes, I know Bhagavad Gita, I know Bhagavad Gita. But when you really ask them what it means, I mean, I went to one of the Hindu temples around here, and the speaker was speaking, and basically he spoke the verse from Bhagavad Gita, and then after that he said, you just change the word, wherever it says Krishna, you put yourself in there. So it means you are Krishna, and I said, well, so I asked him the question, if I'm Krishna, what am I sitting down here worshiping the deities of Krishna? And what he said, oh, that's because you haven't realized it. Once you realize you're Krishna, then you don't need to do all the worship of Krishna and all of that. So Bhagavad Gita, like you said, people all interpret it in different ways. We have all sorts of peace. I mean, California is the typical place you'll find all this sort, and it's also become a business. this using our scriptures, because there's lots of good stuff in there. So people pick and choose what they want, what's good for them, what serves them, how they can make good money out of this. And that's why it's really stressing down here. You need to obtain this real knowledge from a self-realized soul, from a guru, from a disciplic succession. I just read through the whole succession, all the way from Krishna to Brahma to Madhva to Prabhupada, who's our 32nd. That's really important. So when you take knowledge from someone, the most important thing first you ask is, where are they getting their knowledge from? What's their disciplic succession? What's their lineage? A guru should be someone who is heavy with knowledge. And when somebody is heavy with knowledge, just like Prabhupada gave the example of a tree, when a tree is full with like really nice, rich fruits, a lot of fruits. I mean, I have a persimmon tree here. We have 20 fruit trees in my property here, and we see the trees that give a lot of fruits. They usually bend down, they're just going downwards because the fruits are so heavy. So that means a guru is someone who's with knowledge, and a person with real knowledge is usually humble. So you need to recognize the qualities, or who do you get this knowledge from? Someone who's humble, a learned sage, who's humble and he sees everything with true equal vision. He can give you proper knowledge, proper knowledge, which is he has realized himself. And both, like you said, the disciple and the guru both need to be qualified, both need to be sincere. You need to have, for things to work, like Prabhupada give the example, like to have a child, the man needs to be potent and the wife needs to be fertile for it to work. So just like that, the guru has to be, a bona fide guru from a proper disciplic succession, who has realized this knowledge, and the disciple has to be one who is really submissive and sincere and, really following properly the guru. And then things work, amazing things work. And then you said, like, you will understand who you are. And once we really understand who we are, this beautiful sparks of God, this beautiful part and parcels of God, Satchitananda, and we want to serve naturally our source, who's the source, who's providing and maintaining us, giving us everything, who is all these beautiful qualities. Just someone in this world who has nice qualities, just one quality like humility is very attractive. And Krishna has all these amazing qualities, so beautiful. It's so, full of strength, the six, like, full of opulence. And then he's renounced and he's the richest. He doesn't need to, like be, try to pamper, please people just to get people's favor, because he's got everything. He doesn't even need our service. He says, Lakshmi Sahasra Sambrasevamanam. He's served by hundreds and thousands of, Lakshmi Devis, He doesn't need our service. But, he's giving us an opportunity, and all these, and Krishna himself in Bhagavad Gita is saying, he could himself say, just come to me directly, but he's saying, no, he says, you need a guru. He's setting an example. Every great person sets an example. Even Krishna himself goes to Gurukula, so he's saying how important this point is. Because a lot of people here will say, oh, you didn't need a guru. I mean, in California, you have groups like that. You can figure it out yourself, or once you come to a point that you know it, then you can drop the guru out, and all this kind of crazy philosophies. But here Krishna is making it so clear, and this is Krishna's words himself, and he sets his example himself. So sometimes you say, so it's really important that we follow in the footsteps of a guru. So what does it mean by following in the footsteps of a guru? And then sometimes we also say, there are examples of what they say, the guru or a pure devotee is beyond our understanding. We cannot really understand Krishna and a guru because they are so transcendental. It's just like the original spiritual master is Lord Nityananda. He's the first exception, but expansion, Lord Balaram of Krishna, and he's an avadut. So sometimes we can't really just imitate him in that sense of, imitate him in the sense like Lord Balaram would do all sorts of things. And, Lord Chaitanya said, my Nityananda, even if he goes into the brothel or the what you call the place where the drunkards hang out or anything like that, he's not contaminated, he's not affected. So, but in the same time, can we just do that too? And Lord Nityananda sometimes would just take off all his clothes and run around and, like a total avadut, and he's the original spiritual master. So do we just imitate him like that? How do we know when do we follow and when we don't? When do we just do what he does and when we don't? Because in one sense, you say we follow in their footsteps. What's the difference between following in their footsteps and imitating? How do we know what's the difference? Would anyone like to jump in and respond to that question?
Pretension meaning basically that imitating means the pretending we are copying something, which is we don't know, but internally we don't know, but we are just showing externally our feature, like we are trying to copy, everything what they trying to speak, like for example, we try to preach in that manner, but we don't know internally exactly the meaning of that. That is the pretension of imitating. And the second one point you said, the second point is?
Yeah, that's basically how do we know when do we follow, in the footsteps and when we don't, imitate. So you pretty much answered it, Prana Hari Prabhu. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, thank you very much for that. Yeah, that's a nice way. Yeah, pretension or imitating means if we try to do something but we are not at that level, then it's not real. Then it's not real. And okay, so then I'll ask another question to you, Pran Hariprabhu, or anybody else. Like, okay, so you say if that's not real. So sometimes Prabhupada would say, some disciples of his saying, Prabhupada, I don't feel like bowing down when I come to the temple room. I don't feel like doing it. It doesn't feel real for me, right? I'm not used to this. So Prabhupada would say to them, do it anyway, and slowly and slowly you will get used to that. It will become a habit. So what do you say in that instance?
Yes, basically that Prabhupada said, because it takes time, everything takes time. Yesterday I was hearing a lecture about the late Yasomati Nandan, because he passed away, and he was basically going for initiation session with Prabhupada, and Prabhupada was coming in the temple room, and he was having his hair, he was not cut his hair because, and they told him, some of the, his god brother told him that you have to shave his hair, and he was thinking, because I'm working, do I have to shave my hair or not? So he was thinking in dilemma, but finally then they gave a warning that if you don't shave it, you will lose this opportunity. So then later on, he saved his hair, and then he went to Prabhupada, and then he asked Prabhupada, is that okay to save save head when some are working? Then Prabhupada said, if you want to be a Vaishnav, then you have to save your head. And that is the first practice of being save head while taking the initiation. So as you're saying, the bowing down is basically, it's not easy, because we feel that, there are so many people will be seeing me, how he bowing down and all that. So it doesn't come instantly. It takes time. And then that's the reason Prabhupada said that do it, and then gradually it's become a practice. And sometimes, they do bow so much that bow down so much that the other people get inspiration from them. So that is how the Prabhupada, that's what I think, that is my understanding is.
Well, thank you very much, Pran Hari Prabhu. Yeah, definitely that is. But then again, my point is, you see, that's good answers you've given. Yeah, exactly for why this. But then, so that's exactly because sometimes you say, it's like you were saying earlier, like, we don't imitate, because yes, true, we don't imitate. If we're not being authentic, it won't be, you're just pretending. Then it's like sahaja. You're doing something. And then on other times, like Prabhupada saying, even if you don't feel like doing it, do it. Even don't feel like shaving your head, you don't feel like bowing down, still do it, because by practice, you will eventually learn how to do it. So that's exactly, the answer here is that's exactly why we need a personal guru, because we are not clear when to do what. So guru is so self-realized, and he knows each person. So according to time, place, circumstances, and knowing the level of the disciple, what's in his heart, where, what would be the right instruction for this person. So, sometimes nowadays people say, oh, you don't need a personal guru in, line, and we can just follow this Ritvik philosophy in this one and Prabhupada. Yeah, in one sense, yes, but this is so important that Prabhupada gave the example that a guru, your personal guru is there. If you go, out of order, he can pull your ear. He can just pull your ear and bring you back to line. So this is really, that's why it's really important, like he says, why we need to have a guru, a guru and a disciple, and both qualified. So it's really, really important. So yeah, and you got to hear from. So this is when a guru comes into, like you say, place, because we go to a guru, we're not clear about something, we go to a guru, we ask him, and he will speak according to what will be same as guru, sadhu, and shastra. Whatever he says, the sadhus will also say it's right, the shastra will also say right, it will all be in alignment. So that is why it's really important, just stressing that point to have. And the guru doesn't give you what you want. He will tell you what you need. Here you have lots of, the word guru has become, again, in California and America, very cheap. Like, you have a car guru and this guru and that guru and all sorts of things. They use the name of guru, and those gurus will give you what you want to hear, or even the politicians. They'll let you hear what you want to hear, leaders of that caliber. What they, what you want to hear, I'll let you hear. So then you will just like me and you'll just vote for me, or you'll just like me and you'll just buy what I'm trying to sell you, or whatever like that. But the guru, no, he's savvy. He gives you what you need, not what you want. So say, like you say, all these different impersonalistic philosophies, Mayavadi philosophies around different things, and people interpret it, so it's really important you have a guru who's self-realized, who's from a bona fide disciplic succession. Is a very key point. A bona fide guru who's self-realized, is from a disciplic succession, a lineage that comes all the way down from Krishna. So these are all very, very, like you said, key points, and why we need to. And then, yeah, the important thing, also another important thing here to know, with our philosophy has, answers for everything. It's like the Achintya Beda Beda Tattva philosophy. It's simultaneously one and different. A lot of people don't have an answer to, Krishna can be the smaller of the smallest, and he can be the bigger of the bigger. So in the purport we were reading, where he's saying that 1 + 1 is still 1, 1 - 1 is still 1, because Krishna can come down and he can expand to as many incarnations as possible, and still he's still the whole and complete one Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the material world, when we take something away, or even if we're in one place, we can't be in another place, but in spiritual realm, that's not true. So it's always whole and complete, Krishna. So people don't get these things, and that's why we are so extremely fortunate to have, some spiritual master like Prabhupada, who has given us all this purport and made us understand everything, so nicely, so clearly, and, given us the actual teachings as it is. We don't realize how extremely fortunate we are. I go around here and I listen to all the people giving all their purports about Bhagavad Gita, and I think how sad it is that they don't have a spiritual master from a lineage like we have for Prabhupada, who's giving us this knowledge. We sometimes take it for granted. It's just like absolutely, actually, it's just so absolutely amazing how he has explained everything to us so clearly, that there's no room for, for misunderstanding here, who we are and who Krishna is. And anything outside of that is Maya. Maya is also Krishna's potency, but that potency is to help us, keep us illusioned, to keep us illusioned in this world. But if we want to be Krishna conscious, then we follow the path of the Guru, self-realized soul, and then that way we can reconnect with our true self. We're no more. See, right now we are like fishes out of water. I mean, we are very fortunate. I'm talking about myself, like the devotees who are connected with, Prabhupada and his teachings and following that properly. You're reconnected, but the rest versa, it's like fish out of water. We need to reconnect with our true spiritual self and reconnect it. And like you say, when we're in our spiritual constitution, I was just talking to my husband, it's like amazing, because he says, like, you can expand. We're talking about 1 + 1 is 1, and 1 - 1 is still 1, because you have a spiritual body, and you can just expand to many places to serve Krishna. You're not limited by this one body. Can you imagine having that? I mean, we all have that uh, opportunity, to reconnect with our true spiritual self, and we can expand in as many as possible and serve Krishna and be always blissful and always be knowing what to do and what not to do, the right thing, and just like you said, Sanjay is saying, this is process is susukhyam avyayam. It's joyful at every stand. It's always blissful, this path of devotional service. And all we have to do is, inquire submissively, hear submissively, and serve the spiritual master, serve the devotees, and we can free ourselves from, like it says here in the last line, liberation means to be situated in one's constitutional position as an eternal servitor of Krishna. But that's the last sentence of this purport of this text, where liberation means we free ourselves from this false illusion or maya of who we are not this body and just around this material thing. So we liberate ourselves from that by being back in our constitutional position, serving Krishna. And why would we not want to do that? This is only a crazy person does something that's against his own welfare. And right now it's like us of us, like people like me, we're crazy. Uh, why would I not want to be, what's good for me, reconnect with our true self, with our spiritual self all the time. Anyway, so I think I've gone on quite a bit here. I'll put a pause here and leave some room for any questions or answers.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very
Mhm.
much, Mataji, for explaining it so simply. Uh, anybody has any questions?
Answers, comments, feedback, anything?
Hare Krishna, I have one question.
Sure, Prabhuji.
So we talk about Maya and everywhere, and since the Maya is also an energy of the Lord, so I read somewhere, but I don't know exactly. Is that Maya also help in devotion of a devotee who is a very strong devotee?
Yes, yes. So as long so there's two ways. Krishna can, bring us back to his lotus feet. One is by using Maya to kick the ass out of us, and we learn the hard way, right? She punishes us through this trident of all the three modes of nature and, all this adidivika, adhyatmika, adipautic, that's a job. So that we come to that realization, hey, this is horrible. This is miserable. I don't want to be this. Why am I posed in this suffering? Like Sanatana Goswami is asking those questions. Who am I? Why do I have to suffer like that? So when Maya curses all this suffers to her tridents, then we hopefully an intelligent person will ask, why am I suffering like that? I don't want to suffer like that. So when you ask those questions and you surrender to Krishna, you become his devotee. And then Maya herself is very pleased because, like you say, yes, she is his agent. So Maya can work both ways. When you're a devotee of Krishna, she's pleased with you, then she helps you in the path. But if you're not a devotee of Krishna, then she teaches you through the kicks. So she works both ways. Yeah, I mean, you often hear the story of even Jad Bharat, when like Maya Durga Devi has many forms. I mean, now it's the Navaratri celebration is so big for people here, but most of her forms are people who want some material gains and things like that. But she also, one of her forms is Kali, so in the pastime of Jad Bharat, how these dacoits are trying to kill Jad Bharat. But there, Kali, because he was a devotee of Krishna, a very good, special devotee of Krishna, she did even though they were doing that as a sacrifice for her, she did not, she was very upset. She came out and she got rid of everybody. She killed everyone, all the dacoits, and she saved Jad Bharat. So here, because he's a devotee, even Maya Devi then becomes, is folds her hands and she's willing to like help the devotee in his journey back to Krishna. Thank you for that
Yeah,
question.
thank you. Mataji, one more question, sorry. As you
Mhm.
mentioned that the humble is the sign of a devotee. So what are the other signs basically we need to acquire actually to be in the devotee of Krishna actually?
Yeah, I mean, you will see in our Bhagavad Gita, we have that chapter, divine and demoniac qualities, so you will see there's lots of qualities, there are 24 qualities there of a divine person, a person who's a devotee of Krishna, but humility is one of the key one. And Lord Chaitanya put it really simply for us in one shloka, Trinada Pisuni Chena Tarore Vasishana Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari. So that is the nutshell of it. We are tolerant like a tree, humble like a blade of grass, these are the main key qualities. And we're always chanting Hare Krishna. We're always chanting Krishna's name. We don't get disturbed by any little thing because we are grounded. We see the world from, like you said, the perspective, like a great devotee, he says, he sees the world, how he sees with humble state, learned sage sees the world with true equal vision. Equal vision means you see everybody is a part and parcel of Krishna. They're just illusion, they're acting in crazy ways or something like that. It's just like you see a crazy man walking around the street, you don't you don't get all upset with anything he say or does, because you just think, in fact, you feel compassion for him, right? You think, oh God, poor thing, so just like that, a true sage sees, the spark of Krishna in everybody. He doesn't get offended. He's tolerant because he understands we are all part and parcels of Krishna, and so he doesn't get offended. He's able to tolerate that because he has true knowledge, the true knowledge that we are all part and parcels of Krishna, and Krishna is our master, and the person we serve. And so when he has that knowledge, he sees everything in a way that he's able to be humble like a blade of grass. Because why humble like a blade of grass? Because if we understand our position, we are this small, little, tiny spark. Krishna and Prabhupada gave that example, I think, once to Tamal Krishna Maharaj. He was worried that he might get proud being in a position in the temple. And Prabhupada say, this big universes, Garbhodaksha Vishnu, it comes out of his pores. And then from that, there's one planet. And then from one planet, there's one country. From one country, there's one state, a county. From one state, a county, there's one city. In one city, there's one little home or temple. In that one little home temple, there are many people. You're one of those persons there. And if you really understand our constitutional position, what's there to be proud? So that's why it's saying this whole verse is, one will understand all living beings are part and parcel of Supreme Lord, and they're all part of Krishna. So we understand that, we get that. If we really get that, there will be nothing to be proud about. We will be able to tolerate, we will feel compassion, we will be humble. So these are the key qualities. But for that, we need to understand who we are, what our relationship with Krishna is, who everybody else around us is. Okay.
Yeah,
Is
thank you
that
very much. Thank you
okay?
for you. No, yeah, thank you for a nice answer. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare
You're
Krishna,
welcome.
thank you very much. I know we have exhausted our time, but if there are more questions, if there are more inquiries, Mataji, is it okay for them
I'm
to
fine.
ask more question? Are you okay with time?
I'm fine. Yeah, I'm okay.
Any other questions? It's now 9 o'clock in the evening in Kenya, so it's I think people are winding down.
Right. So thank you very much again to everybody for giving me this honor to be of service. I hope next time I have a little bit more time to reflect on the verse, and maybe I could do a little better, but this was
Mataji,
spontaneous.
yeah, it is my fault. I have just seen on my phone I sent the message to Mansi Ganga Mataji that we are doing text 34. So he sent it to you. So it is, I apologize. It was my mistake, and I should have written text 35. So please accept my apologies, but you did a very good job in spite of not preparing for it. We have a process. When you finish, I hand over to Path Prabhuji, and Path Prabhuji will do the Thanksgiving. Path Prabhuji.
Thank you, Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. We are also so grateful today of Hare Krishna Brajrani Devi Dasi Mataji from USA. It is Mataji really very wonderful class, very nicely explained what is the importance of a guru, and also as a new devotee, a neophyte devotee, how it is important to accept the guru and how the guru is connected us in the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It's a very wonderful class. And on behalf of ISKCON Eldoret, we are so much grateful to you. I'm also thankful to all the devotees joined in the Zoom class. On behalf of ISKCON Eldoret, we request everyone, I request everyone to please unmute yourself, and for a glorification of Mataji, please chant Hare Krishna mantra once. Before we chant, we also request, please, you have some time, please giving also at least once or twice in a month, so that it will be very effective class, especially for our Mataji group. There are so many Mataji here in Jain here today. So it is a very wonderful session, a really wonderful session. So please unmute and chant Hare Krishna mantra once. Please join. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna Hare Hare,
Hare
Hare Rama, Hare
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha,
Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa
Kripa
sindhubhya eva cha
Sindhu Patitanam
Bhutanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.
Hare Krishna, Srila
Hare
Prabhupada
Krishna.
ki
Jai.
Jai.
Hare Krishna.
For
Hare
those
Krishna.
who missed, Mataji gave an introduction in the beginning. I think we had 17 participants, but because of time, they've left. But Mataji has met Srila Prabhupada when she was a young girl, and has even had cookies and brownies from Srila Prabhupada. So we are really fortunate
So
to
good.
have her association
1971.
from 1971. So we are very fortunate to have her association, and she understood what he was, and then from there onwards she had decided that she will follow on to this mission. So her journey started from Malaysia, continued to London, and now she's in California. So we are very, very fortunate that we have among us such a well-traveled person and well-versed person, and has seen Srila Prabhupada, something that we all would have loved to do. So thank you very much, Mataji.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
We'll liaise with Mansi Ganga Mataji if you have time next time, if you can join us, or if you have time once a week or once in 15 days or once in a month. It's a small group, and we are all inquisitive. We are all desiring to be aspiring devotees. So we will really benefit from your association, Mataji.
Well, I'm inspired by all of you, and I'm benefiting from your association. There's not much here, but maybe we should exchange. Are you on WhatsApp? Is there
Yes,
some way that I
Mataji.
could directly contact you, so
Yes.
it's not going through you and Manasi, and so we can get together? You know, maybe we could stop the recording and then we could exchange